Assalamu
Wow.
alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Oh, that was the first time you saw it like that, isn't it? Because we're not normally on this system, right?
Normally, I'm oblivious to all the effects and the fancy
Yeah.
schmancy stuff we've got going on.
For you, it's just a Skype session normally, but little do you know, there's all these things happening.
Hmm.
Um, how are you, man? As always, we haven't had even a second to chat before the stream, because we did have a couple minutes because Alhamdulillah you were early, but I ran in the other room in the
Hmm.
kitchen to stuff my face as much as I could before the stream because I'm so hungry, bro. You know when you just forget to eat and then it
Yeah,
hits you
yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
once? That happened to me just
Of
now.
course.
How are
Alhamdulillah.
you,
How are
man?
you, bro?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, man. Congratulations on your 100th episode of Mind Heist.
Thank you very much.
Why
Oh,
are you
we made
smiling
it.
so much?
Why not? Why not? Why not be
No,
happy?
you look like a cheeky smile, like you had something up your sleeve.
No, I've got absolutely nothing up my sleeve apart from my mind
Okay.
heist canvas behind me.
Yeah,
But that wasn't product placement at all. That wasn't a
you're just
deliberate thing that
perfectly
I decided
placed.
to do.
Yeah, I
How are
should
you, bro?
sue you for what do they call it? Conflict of interest.
No, not at all, Aki. I've been on Freshly Grounded. You've been on Mind Heist. Of course, we're all one big family.
Yeah, yeah, and we're trying to work towards an acquisition talk.
Shh, keep it on the down low,
Um,
bro. I need to get my shares
bro,
in quickly.
I ran into when I ran into the kitchen to eat. I was like, oh, I've got 1 minute to eat, and my wife was like, oh, do you even know what you're talking about today? And I was like, no,
No,
I don't think we
this
ever
is it.
do.
No, that's it. I think today we will do a bit more engagement with some early stages of because we started the first two episodes quite sporadically talking about different aspects, right? But a lot of people were like, "Can we just start from the beginning, please?" You know, about
Yeah, and
thinking
also
about
we
having
always end up
kids and
just
all that sort
speaking
of stuff.
about our dads.
Yeah,
This is not for our dads. This is
well,
for us
it's
to be dads.
yes, but we can't. We need blueprints, bro. We talk about the blueprints of fatherhood,
Nah,
and at the end of the day, we're very much amateurs in the field of parenthood. You
that's
know.
true. Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. I was thinking like, when people are listening to a podcast on parenthood, um, like during the lockdown, they would want to probably hear stuff like how homeschooling is going and stuff like that. And I know that you're kind of closer to the age because of nursery and stuff, but I'm like nowhere near the age of homeschooling or anything
Mm.
like that. So
Well, it'll come around the corner very quickly.
I've
I
heard.
can assure you.
But one
Like
thing that did
you,
lead me to think about. So I was gonna say that one thing that did lead me to think about is what lockdown is like with
mm,
a child, and I was thinking perhaps this would be quite interesting to talk about because you and I have different um like viewpoints of this because I'm
mm,
at home, I'm working from home, whereas you have to work. You don't have the luxury of being able to work from home, right?
yeah,
Um, no, that sounds like it's a luxury. I mean, it is, I guess. Luxury was the wrong
working
word
from
though,
home.
because I wasn't like, oh yeah, look at me, I've got a luxury working home and you don't. But that's what it sounded like, didn't it?
Yeah, a
I
little
mean,
bit.
you don't have the ability, you don't have the ability to work from home. I can't get it
No.
right. I'm trying to make it sound like I just mean like I work from home and you don't, and you're
Yes.
not.
Yeah. That's it. It's clear as day. There you go. We got there in the end.
Anyway,
um, yeah, but
because I'm
my work is very much affected by the fact that people are all at home. You know, so
yeah, it's
actually,
true.
sometimes, not all the time, definitely not all the time, but sometimes, like last night, I worked, and it was actually like I didn't really do much. You know, the
Really.
streets were empty. It was very quiet. Um, that's about it. Just all night, I was falling asleep in the car. So
Wow.
thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for staying at home. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
I think people are taking it more seriously now, aren't they? But
Definitely.
my point in that was that I was thinking about what life is like as like a working parent from
Mm.
home with a child, right? And man, I was just thinking like so many people are probably going through the exact same thing. Like, you know, what you have to accept from working from home with a child is that you're
Mm,
gonna that that you're not gonna get done like the same amount of work that you would normally get done, like for example from the office. And I
mm,
think in the first lockdown my mistake was that was what I assumed. I think maybe I even spoke about this sometimes, I'm not sure. My mistake was that that's what I was expecting, and so that's why I think there was so much difficulty and so much like friction in the house, because I was like I was expecting of myself the level of output that I was putting in from the studio,
mm,
right? Whether
mm,
that be like I think back then, even when we were in the office, like the main focus was working on events and stuff like that.
mm,
Um, and so to expect the same amount of like tasks being done from home, that was where I was wrong. It's more so like, people say that with the gym, like because gyms are closed, when you're at the
mm,
gym and gyms are open, it's like you're building muscle. But when you're working from home, it's just about maintenance. And I
mm,
think you have to come into working from home with the mindset of it's about maintenance, and where you can find those little gems of like, sometimes because you can have childcare bubbles and stuff like that, so where you are able to have a day where your child is at, like for example your mum's house or whatever, that's where you do utilize that like building muscle element of like work. But for the most
yeah.
part, when you are at home with your child, you do have to prioritize your child. And do you know what you've and then a new emotion that I experienced this week was sadness. Now, I have experienced sadness on many occasions, obviously, in my life,
Oh, oh,
but I experienced sadness in a different way this week because, they say as a parent, you go through different emotions that you don't normally go through.
yeah.
I experienced sadness in the sense that Zachary was so bored this week, bro. He was so bored because his like I said before, his whole life has been in lockdown. He's 14 months
Mm,
now, and 10 months we've been in lockdown in the UK, right? Pretty much. And so all of his like life, like developmental life, has been in lockdown, and so he's not really been able to experience stuff like at this age you would have, which is going to the play centers and stuff like that. And so obviously it's taken a toll on him, and he's bored. And this week when he was really bored, when we were working and stuff, as much as we do, by the way, really try and make it entertaining for him. Like we spend a lot of time with him, and alhamdulillah, we've got childcare bubble, and so like, and we take him for walks and all sorts of stuff. So we do, and like I'm constantly trying to create new things in the house and buy new toys. And I have to say that his mum is just exceptional with like looking after him and trying and making it exciting. But at the same time, bro, he's in the same house most of his life, right? Like
mm,
indoors. And so this week, he had a really bad day this week. Like one of these days, he had a really bad day, and you could tell it was just because of him being bored, and because he was so down, I felt so sad for him. Like I felt empathy on a level that I've not felt empathy before, which is I felt sad because
mm,
he was just sad and bored, and I had so much to do. I wasn't bored, but just because he was so bored, bro, I just felt so sad for him. And I probably, if I reflected on it enough, probably could have cried, but I didn't.
mm.
But
Oh,
I just felt really sad for him, man. Um,
yeah.
yeah. And that's the first time I've experienced it to that level. Have you
It's
experienced
hard as
that?
well because I suppose for yourself, he's on his own, isn't he? And
Mm.
he's not really engaging with any other kids, and I think that's what worries me as well. Like Suleiman, for example, hasn't. He's so full of energy and so excitable and all this sort of stuff. But I took him to the park for the first time in a long time, maybe last week. Actually, he was running up to just straight like random kids and like sort of trying to play with them and engage with them and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my god, this is tearing me apart because he should be, in nursery now, he should be engaging with kids and stuff. Alhamdulillah, he's going back to nursery next week. However, it's still, it's still up in the air. You just don't know. Like the whole reason we took him out is because it was getting a bit dangerous. And yeah, it's you just don't know how much they're missing out on this whole year. Like 14 months is a long time. Imagine all the elements that they've missed out on, even just exploring the world. Ilyas, my youngest, we got him a car seat the other day, a new car seat, so
Oh,
it's
nice.
it's front facing now, right? So he can see out of the window. Actually, he was like his eyes were glued to the window, like he's just
Bro,
seeing the
that's what
world.
happened with us when we got Zachary
Yeah,
that car. Bro, when we got Zachary that front face car seat, he was like, like he's just amazed at like, and he just loved it because he could see so
Yeah,
much more. Imagine
yeah.
like for like 9 months or whatever, they're just staring at the back of a car seat.
Exactly. So when he's out, he's not, seeing much. And when obviously he's home, he's not really looking out the window because he's too small. But I think when he's looking at that car seat, he was like a whole new world.
Yeah, like I sometimes take Zachary for a drive, and he doesn't complain. Like even though you would say, well, he's not exercising in that, like, or he's not walking around because that's what he wants to do. He just wants to run around, right? But
Yeah, of course.
when he's not, and he's in the car, he seems to really enjoy it. Just like looking at the lights. If you take him at night time, he loves looking at like all of the lights on the road and the motorways and stuff. And if you take him during the day, he still likes to see things. So yeah, sometimes I'll just go for like a drive through or something.
Yeah,
And just get him out, man. Like open the window, get some fresh air for him and stuff like that. And
yeah,
it's weird because we as a society we've become so aware of mental health in recent years, and I wonder how much we think about children's mental health, especially during
yeah,
lockdown.
yeah. I mean, I can remember even being younger and just like being excessively and deeply bored, let alone now when they're going through this. I don't think I find the time to be bored now because there's always something that needs to be done or something along those lines. But for kids, boredom is a very real and prevalent thing. Especially now, I think when there's sometimes maybe even too much choice. They're just going through all the toys that they have, everything they've got at home. They've just exhausted it, and they want something very stimulating, like going out or engaging with other kids and stuff like that. And right now, yeah, it's not really the year for it. It hasn't been the year for it. I just don't know how it's going to affect people or kids anyway when it does start freeing up, and when my biggest fear is like they get to school or they get to nursery or whatever it is, and they're just very, very shy and not very social, or there's certain things like, for Zechariah, for example, he may not have had a lot of experience in being able to share and being able to sort of
Yeah,
understand that
definitely.
these are toys that we need to share with, or this is something, or manners or stuff like that. It's very difficult to exercise that when you're not at an educational level where there's kids around and you can learn that, through trial and error. So that's another one of my fears. Like he goes back into nursery and then doesn't understand the concept of sharing or stuff like that, gets all
Yeah.
rude and snatches toys and stuff.
Miriam raises a good point here. She says, I don't think socializing is that deep, to be honest. I was homeschooled and don't really remember being around my other kids sub 5. Didn't go nursery, etc. I don't think it ever affected me. And I think there's a valid point there because I was speaking to somebody who homeschooled their children all their life. His children are still homeschooled and they're taking their GCSE exams now. And but I asked him about that, and he said that just because they don't go to school, it doesn't mean they don't go to sports clubs, that they don't go to madrasa, that they don't go to all of these different things, which allows them to socialize. And I was like, oh, that's a very valid point. So even though what Mariam's saying is that before 5, she doesn't remember being around any kids, I still think that like the general point of like homeschooling not necessarily being an issue socializing wise is true, but then the lockdown is something different, isn't it? Because
everything's gone.
You like, even if you wanted to break the lockdown rules, which I don't recommend anyone to do,
No.
you can't do anything, bro. You can't go to like, where can you go to like, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to the play centers, you can't really go to other people's houses. Like it's just not safe to go to people's houses or like have elderly there and stuff like that. So yeah.
They are the only thing available is like public parks and stuff. But then once again, that kind of worries me because it's very concentrated. It's just kids everywhere using the same climbing frames, the same swings, the same everything, and it's like, oh, is this really safe? But what can you do?
I don't know. I'm open to like I've been taking him out, and my wife's been taking him out and stuff because you have to, man. Like he just today I would have, but it was just the weather was really, really cold and it was rainy, and so it wasn't ideal for him. But and we also have access to like a really nice garden, alhamdulillah, so he runs around there, but then he tries to run to the roads. What you were just mentioning about them getting bored with their toys, like them like using everything up and then just hitting a plateau. We've started taking some toys away for a certain amount of time, like maybe a few weeks,
Yeah.
or maybe even just days, so that he kind of like forgets about them,
Right.
and then bring them back and like take others away, and then like he's really excited about them. Um, we haven't done it that successfully, but that is something that we are kind of doing. Because I went towards a few weeks ago. I remember telling you in episode 1 that I went out and I bought him some more cars and a drill and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can continue buying toys. Like Allahumma barik, he's got a lot of toys. Like he's definitely not short of toys. So there's only so much we can constantly buy toys. We're running out of storage, and so it's more of a case of how you use those toys. So that drill, for example, that I mentioned, he hasn't even. Apart from that first day that he got it, he hasn't even seen it. So when I eventually bring that out, and then like you press it and then it turns, like I'm sure he'll be a big fan of that. So I think that's a really good tactic, just like removing things, or yeah, like even something little like
Regimented.
so a lot of his toys end up behind the sofa, and so sometimes he'll forget about them, and then when you're like moving the sofas to clean behind them, and then like that toy pops up, he gets really excited about it. So
Yeah.
clean behind your sofas and see if there's anything.
What I've started using recently, so Suleiman has gotten into video games recently.
Okay.
He picked it up. He picked up a Nintendo Switch a few weeks ago. Just, I don't know, for the first time, I thought, you know what, go ahead. Like, let's see how you can do. He was playing some Mario game, and anyone who knows Mario knows it's like a platformer. So you've got like jump, you've got to jump over obstacles, run around, all that sort of stuff. He was struggling to like run and jump at the same time. He couldn't figure it out. Anyway, 3 days later, he's flipping doing all sorts that I couldn't even do. Like he's completely different to me. I used to avoid challenges and just do the easy stuff all the time when I was young. He just wants to do the most difficult thing, and he'll do it again and again and again until he does it. And then even when he completes it, he will want to do it again. I don't know. He's just tenacious in that element. Anyway, it got to a point where we're a bit concerned now, because like there's certain things that he's disregarding because he's too focused on playing all the time.
Yeah,
right.
that's
So like he may have an accident or something along those lines, or not eat his food or whatever because he's so focused on games. Right. So I dove into the world of parental controls for the first time. Oh, fascinating stuff.
Wow.
Yes. So one thing I found with like specifically the Switch is like it's got a where is it? It's got like a parental controls app, which I've got.
I'm not too familiar with video games that much. I mean, I'm not a dinosaur, but also is the Switch handheld?
Yeah, so it can be handheld.
I know what you're talking about.
TV,
yeah.
But it's just in general. Yeah, just in general, a lot of technology's got parental controls on it. So this is the first time I've like turned one of those features on or explored one of those features. So I thought it'd be quite cool to talk about. But ultimately, it's got. So one of the key features it has on it is like a daily limiter. So it will limit how often that piece of software, that device can be used for. So you can set it to like 15 minutes, an hour, 5 hours, whatever you want. You can set like a bedtime alarm on it, and then you can set what happens when that limit reaches. So it can automatically just switch
explode.
it off. No, well, yeah, it can
self-destruct.
automatically switch off. Imagine it can automatically switch off, and then the only way of bypassing it is by putting in a PIN code, which he won't know, obviously. But it also has like other restrictions based on their age. So like, you know, there might be something that I've got on there for myself, and I don't really want him touching. So I can set the age limit of certain things that he can play based on, like, you know, the ratings that they have. So he can only play something that's for 5 years old or 8 years old or whatever it is. And also it's got like a tracker where you can monitor basically what he's into based on, like, you can just see what he's been doing on there, all on your phone. And I'm sure, like, you know, it got me thinking, like, when did you get your first mobile phone, Effie? That's a good question. When did you get your first phone?
I think I was, I want to say 12.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What year
I think it was that, you know, their phone that, oh man, it's like the Matrix phone. I've never watched the Matrix, but I heard that this phone was on the Matrix. It's a Motorola that flips forward open or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first phone.
What year was that? What year would that have been? 12 years. What year?
And then, do you
7?
know what phone I remember having? Like, was my first like ever brand new fresh phone. It
Go
was
on.
I remember having the Motorola Razr, but it was spelled RAZR because I'm
Oh wow.
cool.
Yeah, I like that.
RAZR
Yeah, just a
Razor.
phase with
Yeah,
the Z.
it's like FAZL with the RAZR. Yeah, I had
Was
the
it, so?
Razor.
What was the reasoning behind you getting a phone? Was it because
I think I was
everybody had one,
maybe
or was
going
because
to. I think maybe I was going to high school. When you're
okay?
12, you go high school, right?
I think
Like
it's
12,
year 7,
13.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was I was going to high school, and it's a good idea
Mm.
for me to be able to access my parents or whatever in an emergency situation, getting buses and
Although
coaches.
exactly. So back then it was a bit more. It was a bit more acceptable, really, because what's the most you can do on a phone? Call someone and text someone, you know.
Yeah.
And now,
Oh, it's
like,
just now insane.
so when is the right age now? Okay, oh, scary times.
So I know. Okay, so I know people who I really respect, right, in terms
Mm.
of their how they live their lives,
Thank you.
their level
I appreciate that.
their level of religiosity, their maturity, how they raise their kids,
Hmm.
how how disciplined they are, and how they're also not separated from society. So even though they have all these great attributes of like being very religious and doing living just a life that I look up to. They haven't necessarily become like these like people who are like separate from society. Now these people have not given their children phones despite their children actually being like GCSE level. This is the same person, by the way, that I'm speaking about as the person who I was saying about
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
homeschooling and stuff. Um, and so I think that's obviously really strict. Like, I'm not
Mm.
gonna lie, like waiting to, like being 16 and still not having a phone, but I respect it, and I would hope that I would be able to do something like that.
There's
But
two elements of it though, isn't there? There's the element of like, yes, you can have one for safety and call me and if there's an emergency and all that stuff, and that's all well and good. But then there's that element of like them getting bullied at school because they haven't got the latest thing that everyone else has, and then there's extremes in that, isn't there? But can you imagine being in school in this day and age and not having a phone and
I
getting
think I'd
sort of
probably give a phone and set parental controls because
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, you can have a family like iCloud account that
yeah,
can control the devices. But I'm thinking that if they're like kids, bro, they would be way cleverer than me with technology at that point. Like they would know how to override
possibly,
that. Like if my dad set a parental control, surely I'd be able to override that. I'd like
possibly.
to hope.
Well, a lot of it is pin coded and password protected, and if you know that, then they're not going to know that. And this is like I
Mm.
said, this is my first sort of delving into those kind of sort of parental control sort of side of things because
Yeah.
I don't think I don't want to be that person or that parent that limits my child from technology because I just think it's just going to hold them back in the future.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They can just be adept with it. I remember I got the first PC we had. I started using it about 6 years old, and I just grew up with a PC. Grew up, with that technology around me, and yeah, because of that, I'm very computer literate, so to speak,
So, do you know
from
what
a
I
young
remember?
age.
I remember that as well, and I'll go into that in a second. But first, I just want to say a big thank you to Naman, who. Okay, that's. I'm clicking. There we are. Naman, thank you very much for supporting the stream, Naman, who gives a super sticker of a thumbs up. So Jazakallah khair for supporting the stream. Appreciate it, me.
Appreciate it. I like that.
Appreciate it, mate. Okay, let's ask the people. Let's ask the people who are engaged in the stream right now. What age were you when you first got your phones? We've got 17 years old from Amani. We've
Wow, that's
got
late. That's
yeah, I
late.
think that's late as well. But I do know people who got theirs around the age 17, 18,
Mm,
and they are not now any less like you said, like literate
mm,
technology wise. So I don't think that is damagingly late.
yeah.
We got someone who said I got my first phone. I was not in year 9, and that was like an iPhone 5S. In year 11, I have a better phone. Depends on whether the kids know their boundaries. Oh, so this
Mm.
person is in year 11 now, I think.
Yeah.
Listening to Dad's Dunya, preparing in advance. I'm glad to hear
Wow.
it. Glad to see it. When I was in year 11, if I was listening to Dad's Dunya, I'd be very proud of myself. We got 15. 15 seems to be the 15 seems to be the kind of average. 14, 18, 13,
Mm.
14, 18, 15, 16. Yeah, it seems to be. Do you know what? It surprisingly seems to be later than what I would have expected.
But I think it's because phones have changed. Like my first
Mm.
phone, so I don't think I even said when I got mine. I remember getting my first phone at maybe around
Yeah, I didn't
11.
ask. It's all about me.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Okay. I think it was about 11. I was in year six. I remember being in year six.
That's early.
Yeah. And it was, all you could do is call on it and maybe like Snake and Space Invaders. There was no, obviously no internet on the phones back then. And then my dad would always sort of get old phones. I never really had a new one until quite late. I think the first new phone I got was when I was probably about 16, 17. And that would have been like a
Okay.
BlackBerry, I think. And it was then when that's when it kind of opened up a bit more, Now I've got the internet on my phone. Now I've got social media. It's like social media started popping up then. But by that point, I think 16, 17, you're old enough to sort of start. I remember 17 especially is when social media was really, that's it for me. Like I'm now deeply engrossed in this ecosystem.
Yeah, of course.
So by that time, actually, like 17, 18-year-olds, they're pretty much men, in their own right. Maybe not as mature, but definitely they probably can and are capable of seeing enough of the world by that age, So it's not just phones that you need to worry about.
Q says my son's 11 and had his phone since his 10th birthday. So I'll be interested to know, Q, how that's going. Yeah, man. So you got yours at 11. That sounds about right, especially considering, like you said, like what phones could do back then. In fact, back then it was more of just a safety thing, wasn't it? It was just like, here's a phone now. And they wouldn't even like add credit to it or anything. It was just like, if I'm calling you, you answer kind of thing, or enough credit to make an emergency call to your parents. Like I still remember going to the shops to top up like £10 credit. Can I have £10 credit, please? And then like they'd add £10 to my phone, or like, and then it advanced like being able to call them and just like top it up yourself. And then I remember one advancement because you mentioned Blackberries.
Yeah.
I remember one advancement was a big game changer for me when I could afford my own phone, because I think they got to a time where, you know how everything like starts expensive, especially with technology, and gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Isn't there a rule like every 6 months the size of a like microchip gets half the size but doubles in speed and half in price or something? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so it started getting to the point, because as you know now, phones, bro, are so affordable. Like you can get a smartphone. It doesn't, not necessarily an iPhone, but you can get a smartphone, bro, on contract, for a couple quid a month or whatever. And so that was back then. Blackberries were really popular, and so they started dropping like Blackberry deals, and I was probably getting like my EMEA. That is that what it's called? EMEA?
Yeah, EMA.
30 quid a week. The EMA, yes. That's it. 30 quid a week.
Yes, baby.
So,
EMA
bro,
gang.
Yeah, EMA. I was getting 30 quid a week, bro, and there was like Blackberry deals for like £5 a month. It was BBM only, no calls, no texts. But you get a free Blackberry, £5 a month, you get BBM. So I remember that was a breakthrough moment for me. So I had my phone, but then I had a Blackberry as well as my phone, and that was for my BBM. And I was paying £5 a month. Obviously, had the EMA going, so there's no stress, Little 5 sheet from that EMA, no problem at all, mate. But yeah, the advancements with the phone,
EMA was the one, actually. I had two days off a week, so 15 quid first day, 15 quid on Saturday, 15 quid on Sunday. That was me. I was good. That's all you needed, bro. Oh,
and
man.
also, I heard that EMA changed a few years after we would have, because you and I are the same age, right?
I'm older than you by a year, I think.
Oh, are you?
93.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm 94.
Okay,
what month in 93?
July.
Oh, okay, yeah,
July.
you're pretty much, yeah. You're definitely one academic year older than me. So, but that's so around the time we were at school, I think a few years later, EMA became like, went from like 30 quid a week to like, I don't know, like £10 a week, or I think like even like £15 a month. I remember like
even EMA at the time, actually, even at the time, it depended on how, like, what your parents were earning.
Oh,
so
okay.
Those who were earning more were getting less EMA anyway, or not eligible whatsoever.
Oh, okay, fine. I remember we asked him what his son, how it's going with his son, his 10-year-old son, his 11-year-old son who uses his phone, who has a phone. He says he mainly has it for YouTube and games. He's in a family WhatsApp group with my sister and his cousins. It's good, but he needs to be controlled, so not on it all day. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, better feeling than a video call from him and my youngest boy. Just tell me some dead joke.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand that. What?
So he's saying that he enjoys it when his son calls him. You know, my son does.
Oh,
So
no
my
better
wife,
feeling than. Oh, I see.
yeah.
I see.
So my wife's phone has got like, even though it's locked, it's got an emergency sort of swipe up thing, and I'm on that list of emergency contacts. So my son will call me, like I'll be at work actually, and I'll just get a call from my wife, and I just know straight away, okay, this is my son. And he'd just be there like talking nonsense, or you know what I mean. But it's good.
That's
It's
so
nice,
cute,
you know.
man. That is so
It's
cute.
fun, man. It's fun, you know, and especially like when it's quite late at night or whatever, and it's just kind of a nice little surprise. So yeah, I've seen it even on Twitter. I've seen, obviously there's some Muslim fathers that I've got on there that I follow, and their kids are a lot older, but just seeing their kids sort of, you know, the way their kids talk to them, you know, because they're growing up now, but just that actual notion of, or that idea of our kids like telling them a joke or stuff like that is quite interesting to me. Yeah, quite exciting.
Yeah, there's a guy, you know, Imran 313 Fitness.
Yes.
Yeah, he's really interesting. I like talking to Imran because he basically is a guy who's a generation above us, but he's very young in his character and he's very young in his attitude. But then he has children who are like a few years younger than us, right? So I think maybe his oldest might be like 19, 20.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to speak to someone like Imran because Imran has the same mindset as us, same mindset as someone who is young. I don't know whether that's because he... I don't know. I suppose it's maybe something to do with his lifestyle. He's a fitness coach and he runs a jiu-jitsu gym, and so he's probably just always like around. He's like very like socially aware, probably, right? And like you said, he has that same kind of like relationship with his sons where they have jokes with each other, and he like does he does some work for the Light Upon Light tour for Iman channel, and so when we went on tour with him, like I think one time, like I think he brought his son along, and it's just lovely to see a relationship between a dad and a son, his eldest, that's like very like, it looks like they're more friends than dad and son, and it's really nice to see.
Definitely. I mean, that was my whole thinking when I was thinking about having kids or getting married in general. I was very focused on this idea of, I want to be able to sort of still be growing up with my son. I don't want to be too far ahead. And I also want it to be like, okay, I want to be still quite active and quite, quick thinking and stuff. And my son being a young adult at the same time. Like I still want to be able to engage and understand and discuss things and not have it in my head. Because we're all prone to it, Akhi. We're all prone to being, know-it-alls in some degree, especially when we get older. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure if a 10-year-old comes up to you now and starts talking to you, you're going to automatically have this mindset that you know where they're coming from, you know it all. So calm down, young one. But I don't want to fall into that. I want to have an element of empathy and sympathy and really try and pull back to remember, oh, how was I when I was that age? What was I thinking? What was important to me at that age? Because everybody's got, like now, actually, when your son has a tantrum, it's because that thing that he's upset about is his absolute focus. That's his life right now. That thing is his life. Your life is many, many, many different things, many more important things. But for your son, like that toy being taken away or that meal that he wants or that chocolate bar he wants, that's the be all end all for him. That's what he understands as life being, that particular item. For us, it's a minor, but for them, it's absolutely everything.
Yeah, that's a very good point, man. That's a very good point. Yeah, it's different stages that they go through, isn't it? When they and things become more and more important to them or less important to them, and even seeing that, like, remember we were talking about how like they change so drastically in such short amounts of time. Like even this past week, so many things have changed with Zachariah. Like I've noticed is that now he says "uh-oh" when he throws something. The throwing habit, by the way, I think it's really bad because he's got this habit of throwing everything, right? And I think he's got it from me because I like this thing where like if I'm like on the other side of the room and I've got like he's like a packet of his wipes, and like the nappies and wipes are in like a box on the other side of the room. I just like to throw it to see if it lands, just like a lad, innit? Obviously, I'm a
Yeah,
lad.
like
Do you know what I
swish.
mean? Like, yeah, right, yeah, it's neat. Yeah, got it in one. So because
Kobe.
I'm like, yeah, exactly. Gosh, because I like to do that. Maybe because out of laziness, or maybe just to stroke my ego. Uh, I think that's where he's got it. And so now he throws everything. Anyway, as he throws things, he goes, "Uh oh." Another thing he's learned is he just says wow to everything, because obviously when we're watching videos and we're like, oh wow, and he's like, now he says wow.
Yeah.
But he done something today that he did for the first time, which was, I was sitting on the sofa and he was grabbing my leg, right, like grabbing it. You can't see my hand. He's grabbing it, like moving it, like come on,
Mm.
like kind of thing, right? And he already does that when, for example, if we're coming into the house, we've been out, we're coming into the house, he kind of like brings us with him to make sure we're coming in the house. We're not like leaving him in there, right? Like he wants us all to be in the house at the same time, and he wants to watch
Right.
the door shut to know like we're all home together, right?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of used to that. So I understood what he meant when he was grabbing my leg, but I was thinking, where does he want me to go? I'm sitting on the sofa. Like, he's never done this before. He's grabbing my leg, and he was then. So I got up. I was like, oh, let me see where he takes me. I stood up, and he started waving like to say bye bye. So he wanted
Yeah.
to go out. He wanted us to go out and play, and because it's raining
Yeah.
and cold, we couldn't. But that was a new. So he's now communicating these things to me. Like he went to the garden door and was like looking out, and he was looking at me. Then he was looking out, and he was looking at me. So he's like trying to tell me, like, without speaking, that he wants to go. And I
Yeah.
thought, wow, man, like just 4 days ago, like he would never have done that.
Yeah. You'll see it actually. You'll see like even an absolute personality shift in literally a day or two. Like they'll just start
Oh,
doing something absolutely new, or reacting in an absolutely new way, and that will just be them for the rest of for the next few months until the next sort of new big
yeah.
development comes in, and it is overnight. Honestly, overnight.
It is overnight, bro. Literally,
Mm.
bro. Like I think this week, I don't know if there's a thing about people who are Zacharia's age, which is 14. I want to say 15 months. November,
Yeah,
December, January.
yeah.
It's 15 months. So I don't know if there's a thing about like super growth at 15 months mentally, but right now he's going through, like, this week and last week he's been going through like a real shift, bro. And like I said, I don't know if that's a thing at 15 months, but I'm just noticing like every day new things. I'm like, wow.
It's going to be concentrated growth all those first few years, because if you think about it, like even like what we were talking about earlier about how little things are the focus of their entire life. 20% of your life is like, you can basically accommodate a small moment in your life is only a fraction of your entire life. A small moment in their life is actually a much larger fraction of their entire life.
Mm.
So, like, for example, let's say they've had a toy that you've got them, and they've had it for 6 months, right? And 6 months to you, like, okay, I've got a toy right here. So you bought them this toy, and you bought it 6 months ago, and it doesn't really mean that much to you, and it's just easily disposable. For them, 6 months is half of their life. Like, if I said to
Yeah.
you, for like what, 15 years or whatever, you've had this, I don't know, this watch or this toy or this car or whatever. That's a lot of, you put a lot of sentimental value for 15 years worth of your life. That's essentially the same thing for them. 6 months
Yeah,
is
that's
half of their
true.
entire life, and that's what they've got.
Yeah.
That's the memory they've got. So the moment you take that away, it's like the equivalent of them having something for a week is equivalent of you having it for like many, many months, because you've got to think of it, respective to how long they've been alive and how their memory is going to work. And all of their memory, for a lot of them, especially like if you think about Zachariah now, he's not going to really remember, a year ago, but he might remember things from like a few months prior. So his entire memory is based on what is most recent, meaning his visualization of what his entire life is literally just for the past 3 months or so. So that's what I mean. Like putting yourself in their shoes sometimes is the only way of understanding that this is why he's having a bit of a, this is why he's having a moment about this particular thing, or this is why he's so upset about this
Yeah.
particular thing. Because this is their whole
Very
life.
good
So this
point.
is why earlier we were talking about the coronavirus and the lockdown and that. Like their whole life has not known otherwise. This is it.
Yeah, they
You
just
don't
think
go
like
out.
life is a pandemic, one big pandemic.
Yeah, they
Like
don't
that's
know
just
otherwise. I
life.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, when did
Subhanallah.
Suleiman start speaking?
Oh, let's have a look. I'm not gonna know. It depends though. Speaking is a hard one.
Yeah, I guess.
Like speaking like properly, or
Well, like you said that he'll call you at work and just like blabber to you, right? Like
yeah.
have a
I
natter.
mean, you know,
When did that
he's
kind of like start? Because I imagine he's really passionate, like and this and like I
yeah.
imagine it's like that.
It's hard to nail it because it's all you see the growth so gradually that you forget that they couldn't at one point, and it isn't
Fine, yeah.
isn't just it's because of like videos and technology that even a week ago we were looking at some old videos and I was like, oh my god, I completely forgot that that's how he used to speak. I completely forgot that that's how he used to be, and maybe sometimes what exasperates that is the fact that you've got another child that's growing up. So you always, like I already see, and I always will see Ilyas as the baby, and I automatically see Suleiman as the older child. And even subconsciously, like Suleiman might act a bit childish. I'll be like, I'll be like, Suleiman,
Okay.
I'll be like, Suleiman, you're not a baby, come on. But if Ilyas wasn't around, if I never had Ilyas, I would probably be babying him a lot more because he'd still be my, my baby, my youngest child, etc.
Yeah.
So it's that comparative sort of psychology. I mean, I'm trying to find some sort of video.
What does he talk like now? Do an impression on the
I'm not under
spot.
pressure. I'll play a
What does he
soundbite.
talk like?
I'll play a soundbite. Oh, remember this? Look, people will like this one.
Remember, this is live.
Shall I play that again? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Please take coronavirus away.
You hear
Oh
that?
Allah, please take
Please take
coronavirus away.
coronavirus away.
Oh, that is the key. Oh,
You know what?
That is just
My
that
wife,
melts
may
my
Allah
heart.
bless my wife. She's always teaching him
Oh.
du'as and just to conversate with Allah and all that sort of stuff. To the point where now he just does it on his own. So that was, I think it was either, I don't know where he was, but he was somewhere on his own. And my wife was kind of like creeping like behind the door, sort of listening to what he's saying. And he would just sit there and just make a dua, talking to himself, you know what I mean? So that's how he speaks at the moment. And as you can tell, he knows what he wants to say. He's got the intention there. And even if he doesn't know the words for it, he'll convince himself that he does. He'll just say something that it doesn't make any sense, but to him, he knows what he wants, sort of thing. So there's always going to be words, there's always going to be grammar, there's always going to be issues, but it's all stuff he's going to pick up on. But
No,
yeah,
that's really advanced. That's so beautiful to hear. My nephew, my sister was saying that my nephew, he like does stuff like that. Like he'll like make a dua like, oh Allah, please can I have a little sister?
oh God, like that.
Like something. I just want a little sister. Like and like he like the similar to what you just mentioned. Like they were like, oh, I know. So he's the older one's 6 or 7. If my sister hears this, she's gonna kill me. He's like 6 or 7, and the young one's 4, I think, yeah. And so the older one, when they go to bed at night, like when the lights are all off, like they're in their room, and my sister heard, and so the older one, he goes to Islamic school now, and so like he's learning like Juz Amma, right? So he's like Surah Kafirun and stuff. And he was teaching Surah Kafirun to the younger one. And he's like correcting him. He's like, no. He's like, da. Like, proper, like, just like, it's just so cute, man. Like, those little innocent things, just like, you just wish you could just, like, freeze them, innit?
Yeah. Do you know what? The scariest thing is that everything is more or less in your control until it's not anymore, until there's competition for their influence, which is what worries me, that always worries me because everything's all fine and good and well, and you've only ever got yourself to blame if anything goes wrong. And then the moment they walk out of that door and they're, okay, you'll feel it. I don't know what your plans are in terms of schooling. I don't know what your plans are, but let's just say that you're thinking of nursery or whatever for Zakaria or something like that. Like the moment you have you, I don't know how he hasn't really gone into anything like that yet, has he? Nursery or anything? But it's probably something you're thinking about. But yeah, like that first day, obviously you do a little taste a day or something like that, about an hour. Maybe yourself or your wife will stay with him for that hour or so, and then they slowly, and then there's the day will soon come where it's like, okay, see you later, and you'll leave them there for like half a day or whatever. Oh, and he'll cry, bro. He'll cry, and you might cry, bro. It's just sad, but then you will see, like a lot of nurseries now have like an online portal, so the the staff that work there will take photos and videos that they'll upload to this secure like online portal that only you've got the login for, and you can monitor Zakaria, for example, in his day, and when they will show you what he's done, and it'll show you bits and bobs. And seeing them in their own element with complete strangers and stuff is quite inspiring, but it can be quite sort of worrying because you just don't know. You don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah, I remember Sam saying that his son, when he went to nursery, he said that his son would go to nursery and then come back, and Sam would be like, "Oh, so how was nursery, mate?" And then he'd be like, "Yeah, it was good." And like he would never tell Sam what happens at nursery.
Yeah.
And Sam was always really annoyed, like, "Just tell me, like, what have you been doing? Like, what were you up to?" He's like, "What were you up to, mate?" And he's like, "Yeah, we just played." And he's like really vague things. He's like, so Sam, I think Sam said that one day, like, he dropped him from nursery, he was like waiting just to see, like, if he could see him, like what he gets up to. He's so secretive. It's so funny.
Bro, some of them have like webcams and stuff, so you can watch them online. Once again, all secure and stuff. Yeah, they do. But the one that we take Suleiman to, it's down to the staff to basically take pictures and videos and upload them and stuff like that. But I found that really cool because, you know, at first you never see them in an environment without you. So that first sort of experience of seeing how they get on and how they manage and how like their personality comes out when they're not with you, and comparing that to, you know, the outside world is really fascinating. You know, even stuff like that you inherit, actually. Because I was showing my mum some videos of Suleiman yesterday, and she was just like picking things that he was doing that she could remember me doing very vividly, like just little things, like the way he would talk, the way he would act, the things that he would do when he's shy, and the things like the way he would laugh, and little things like that maybe I can't say were from me because I was too young to remember. But my mom's like, yeah, he's exactly like you. Like this little thing that he does is exactly the same sort of thing that you did, and you won't know that. It's subconscious, but you won't know that you've passed that on somehow. You know?
Yeah. Do you know what that reminds? The other day, do you film stuff and then like store it in like folders of some sort where it's like, you know, securely stored so that you can look back at him at different ages?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of it is on my phone and iCloud and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. So we do that, and the other day when he was in the garden, I was filming like just him. And I made like I'll show you after. It's really, really funny. I made a like an edit of him, and I shot it with the podcast camera, so it's like very high quality.
Yeah.
And I like shot it in like 100 frames per second. So just like slow-mo shots of like, obviously for him, he's just like doing something, like he's like looking, like I took the ball out and I just like put the ball there and we were playing with football. But like there's this bit where I'm filming him and he's just like looking at the ball. But because I put it in slow-mo and I put like a sound effect to it, it's like I basically like, and he's so small, so I like put the camera right at the bottom and I like raised it up until it got to his face. So you just see like in slow-mo, just like the camera's like, he's just standing there with his jacket on and the camera's raised and it's like, and then he looks at the ball and it just goes, in slow-mo. And then I filmed the ball and the ball's just sitting there on the grass, and then you see him playing with it, and it's like I made like this whole little movie out of like him just playing, and it looks so innocent, but when you edit it, it's like it's so funny, man. And I edited it all up and I sent it to his grandparents, and they started crying, like, because it's just so like it's just so cute, isn't it, man? But yeah, little things like that, when I can be bothered, put things like that together and then like just saving it and be like, oh, and I date it like how old he was, so that hopefully he can look back, you know, when he's because you know now, for example, we look back on like if I say to you, like, oh, have you got any pictures of you as a kid? You do have a few, and maybe a few come to mind, right? Or a few videos. But I think that in the next generation now with our kids, it will just be like a given. Like there'll be so much content and footage. We can only see bits. Like I like if I think about pictures of me as a kid, there's like very few pictures I can remember. Like I've got like the library of them in my head because there's only a couple, like a bunch, right? Like maybe like 6 or 7 pictures come to mind, or like 2 or 3 videos. Like there's a video when I was like 2, I was like dancing in the house, and you know the next video I remember age wise, I don't know. But now they're almost going to have a video or picture for every moment that was significant in their life. Every Eid, every like present that they got, every time they did something, like, oh, what was my first day at school like? Let me have a look. Oh, here's a like day in the life of my first day at school.
Yeah. I mean, even at this point, actually, if you've got the space for it, you've probably got a photo of him every week. Because
Yeah.
that's just what it is at the moment. And now, like even with the technology we've got, like I remember when I was very conscious about memory on my phone, and then now it's just like, oh, you've run out of space on your phone. Do you want to sign up to iCloud for like 70p a month? Okay, sure. Over to iCloud, and that's what I'm doing to manage it. But even so, like, you've got an iPhone, haven't you?
Yeah.
Sometimes your iPhone uses some algorithm to just produce a movie of memories for you.
Yeah. And it does it so well.
Yeah.
It like, bro, it even like drops at like the perfect, like it knows when something's like a sad image. It's like, and you're like, oh man, that was a rough day. It's so good at that, bro. Like, what algorithm? AI is just insane. Like even that, just like little thing, it just makes you. It just reminds you of how like crazy AI is.
I know.
Like imagine if that's what they're just showing us. Like imagine what they know about us and like what profile they built of us, like behind the scenes. Like if they know that was a rough day for me, and so they put sad like tone to that picture. Then imagine like they must know like every day, every year on this day, Facebook for some reason spends the most money on this day. Like psychologically, there's something about that day that that time of the year, and then they just like push me things on that time of the year.
Yeah, ice cream and flipping stay at home and get depressed sort of thing. That's the sort of adverts you're going to get. Reminiscing. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of reminiscing and stuff, another thing is like, were we ever made to be like that? Like, were we ever made to be able to look back on stuff like that and get emotive about it? Because some people say that for the insane to forget is a blessing, and part of that is like, if when Suleiman's a teenager, I'm not going to really have, like, just like now, I can't really recall too much of how he was when he was younger unless I look at a video or a picture, because the change is so gradual. I'm still talking to the same person. So when he's like 20, Akhi, imagine I didn't have any of that. No photos, no videos, no nothing. Would I even remember? Would I even have reminisce? Or would I feel some sort of like heartbreak about not having a baby anymore, like not having a little boy anymore? I don't know. But now with photos and stuff and videos, you can't help but feel like you've lost someone. It's really weird. You feel like you've lost something.
Yeah, I said to my wife the other day, I said to her, do you have any videos of Zachariah I said, do you remember when he used to have that cot, the rocker, and we used to put him to nap in the rocker? She's like, yeah. And I said, and I was like, do you have any videos of that? I just wanted to remember like what that was like. But you can't just pull something up and be like, oh, you're right, bro. Were we ever made to be able to just look back on videos, pictures? I feel like no. Like it's like the internet. The internet, it's not natural for you to be in a room with hundreds of thousands of other people. And that's what the internet is. You're in a room with hundreds of thousands of other people. You're allowed to give your opinion on anything. And wasn't it so that like back in the day, like your opinion would matter if that's what you specialized in? Like, and if you just take it back to the scholars and Islamic way of like seeking advice, even the scholars specialize in things. And the scholars who specialize in one thing, when they're trying to get an opinion on a different matter, even though for them to be a scholar, they're so well versed Islamically that they could make the decision themselves. Often they would go to a scholar who specializes in that matter to like check it. Like, look how amazing that is, bro. And the internet is anti that. The internet is the opposite of that. The internet is like, I can give my opinion on anything. Like, look at us, bro. We're giving it like, fine. We're just like having a chat about fatherhood, but in some ways, we're like okay with speaking about fatherhood on our platform. But is it meant to be like that? It's
unprecedented waters. Like the ability for your son to then in 20 years time look at you at your age, like we mentioned last episode, or look at this conversation that we're having right now, because things don't really disappear that quickly like they used to. It's just unprecedented. Like, we don't know what effect that's going to have on people. We don't know how that, we talked about mental health a lot and stuff like that. Like that, the main thing that I'm concerned of is that feeling of loss, which shouldn't exist, but it does, because it's triggered by the impulse of seeing things that think of times that have long passed and they're made to be forgotten. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it so that we easily forget things. We can be,
mankind was created forgetful.
forgetful. But now we've got this sort of constant stream of memories. Like people come in and out of our lives, Aki. Like Aki, you could have been friends with someone for years and years and years, right? Now in the pre-technological world, if that person left your life, okay, there would come a time where you just forget what they look like. Like you'd find it hard to remember their face vividly, like you can now by just searching up their name on Facebook and boom, there they are, and they can see what they're doing, what they're up to, and then you might feel a certain type of way. Oh, I miss that friendship. I miss that person. I miss your mind and soul haven't had the opportunity to sort of naturally forget that, so that it leaves room for other things. All we're doing is packing more and more and more, and we've still got the strong feelings for like memories that have passed us, or our children growing up or whatever. But then you seeing it through a screen, and it's like, oh, if only I could reach back into that memory. Like it's almost like it's been brought back from the past in front of you, and now you're like, oh, you just feel a bit conflicted, And I think that's what I was feeling like. I was feeling like that about Suleiman. I was like, oh man, like, yeah, he's amazing now, and he's, I absolutely love him to bits now. But I also love the 1-year-old him to bits. And where's that boy gone? Oh, that boy's completely gone. But here he is on my phone, and I feel really like torn that I haven't got that anymore. I don't like that. I'm not made to be like that, but that's just what triggers.
Yeah, you know what you're saying about the fact about sometimes some things are better forgotten, like it's okay to forget things, and maybe it's better as a memory. It reminds me, it's a completely different topic, but it reminds me of a really a cool quote that I saw on Instagram once years ago that really benefited me, man. And it said that it could be that longing for something is better than actually having it. It's often said that satisfaction can be the death of desire. And so I thought that's amazing. Like sometimes just desiring something is so amazing. And then have you ever desired something, and then when you've got it, it's like, oh, got it now. But that journey to wanting it was so powerful. And that quote was amazing to me, man. It's often said that satisfaction is the death of desire. Wow. Yeah, that's the Instagram clip ready then.
you always got that in the back of your mind, just consciously thinking.
Like, make sure you get the Instagram clip, the viral Instagram clip.
Yeah, you've written it down, haven't you? You were reading that. You're exactly. Like, oh yeah, must read the Instagram clip.
There's some every now and again, like you'll see on socials, like a quote that will just like benefit you, man. And that one was one. Yeah, bro. I think that was a good fatherhood now, to be honest. I think next week we should hear more about the relationship of Suleiman and Ilyas. Like, what are they like as brothers? I want, because like you said, I've got Zakaria, but I've not experienced seeing siblings together. So that'll be interesting to hear about.
Definitely.
Give us a little preview.
He will be, so your child will be with his sibling the same way that you are with your child. So
oh really?
You're going to treat the youngest as the baby. You're going to treat the elder one as a bit older. So in a room of 4 people, Suleiman's going to feel like he's also an adult looking after and parenting Ilyas. So if Ilyas does something, he will compliment him and he will praise him just like we would praise him, because he's also seeing himself as a bit of a caregiver as well. It's very strange, but they're emulating yourself. They'll baby them. They won't act like a baby all the time, but they will baby them just like you baby them. They will, like we're trying to teach Ilyas how to walk, so we're holding him and stuff. So the man wants to do the same thing. So the man will congratulate him when he's done. When he does something. Yeah, all of that.
Really, that's amazing.
Yeah, he'll pick up on stuff. So just got to be careful. Just be careful what you say around them or what you do around them and all of that. Even little positive things, I'm helping Ilyas to walk, trying to hold him up and stuff, and sort of I'll make him stand and let go and then catch him, just to get his legs a bit stronger. But then I'm like, oh my God, Suleiman's going to do that when I'm not around. Do I want him doing that? Is that safe?
Yeah.
That kind of element of it as well. But yeah. Anyway, I'm not giving you all the next episodes.
Yeah, all the gems.
Oh, all the quotes. 30-second Instagram quotes.
Does Suleiman what was I going to ask? Oh yeah, does he listen like Do you sometimes catch yourself, you're speaking to your wife and you just see like Suleiman's listening? Because he's at that age now where he can listen, isn't he? He can understand.
Oh,
So
yeah.
do you ever catch him like listening and you're having like an adult conversation like that he doesn't need to hear?
Oh, yeah, definitely. All the time.
Really?
All the time. Yeah. All the time.
That's so cheeky. I've heard about that. I've not experienced that yet, but I've heard about it. It's like you just clock, like they're playing with their toys, but really their eyes are like that. Yeah, well, that's really,
Yeah. All the time.
that's really
All the
interesting,
time.
isn't it? It's like
Be
they
careful.
know that it's not like they shouldn't
Not
be
for
doing it.
them.
That's why they're just like looking inside of their eye.
Very sneaky. Very sneaky.
You know what? I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but Zachariah, speaking of that, it's like, you know this idea of the fitra? I left the bathroom door open by accident, right? I don't like Zachary going in the toilet. He doesn't need to right now, right? And so I try and keep the door shut. The only time he goes to the bathroom is obviously when he has a bath. And I must have just left the bathroom door open, man, like one day. And I'm looking for Zachary. It's like awfully quiet. And he only walked in the other room a second ago. I'm thinking, where is he? And I catch him. He's in the bathroom and he's silent. He's pushing, right? And I was like, how amazing is the fitra? Not that it goes to the bathroom, but how amazing is the fitra that he knows he's doing something where he needs to be hidden, right? Like, it's not a thing you do in front of everyone. Hey guys, like I'm pushing, but like it's like he goes into his corner, but no one taught him that. No one was like, Zachariah, when it's your time to go, find a corner. But he just like quietly goes. Like sometimes when it's not the toilet, because that door's normally shut, he might go to the corridor. Like he stand by the front door, and he's like,
I get you, bro. Exactly the same thing. Suleiman used to. So this dining table, he'd go to the corner underneath the table to do that, and then. Quite unfortunately, we built like a prayer mosque thing for him out of like, you can buy the setup.
oh, my first masjid.
Yeah, that's the one. And we've got that in his room. And that was also a place where he would do it as well. He would run there. Like he'd be sitting here with us and then he would just sprint. He'd literally sprint, Akhi. This was when he was still wearing nappies and stuff. He would sprint into his room, hide in there. And that's exactly what he was doing. And then you'll go in there and then he'll just like start shouting at you to leave. He didn't want you anywhere near him. Yeah. So, yeah, once again, Akhi, there's some sort of shyness and fitra going on there, definitely.
I've started doing this thing. Like if I catch him doing it, I start whispering because I don't want to disturb him. The last thing you want is for it to not be successful. So I'm like, okay, don't disturb Zachariah right now. I was like, I get to record and like pretend I didn't see him. I just walked like into my room and pretend like I'm working, like just so he doesn't think that I'm like keeping an eye on him. Just I don't want him to like because it is like when you distract me, like, oh Zachariah, like he like. Oh, and he gets up, he starts running, like, oh no, did I just ruin it? Like, you know, if you're doing it, just do it properly, get it out of the way so I can just change it up once and for all. Yeah, man. Oh, I'm looking forward to that, inshallah. Next week, hearing some musings about, is it called musings, like stories?
Yeah, sure, why not? Let's use that word.
About siblings. I don't know, maybe musings could mean poems. Maybe write us a poem about what it's like to be a father of siblings.
A lot of work, I think.
Yeah. Alongside your normal work and managing a family, maybe write a poem.
I'll do what I can. It'll be a short haiku, 3 lines.
Do you recognise this hoodie, by the way, where it's from? As in, like, where this hoodie was worn? Okay, I'll just give it to you because I don't know how to frame the question.
I think you wore it at one of the last videos we did.
I think, one of the first Daz Dunya. When we attempted Daz Dunya in person, like 2 years ago, I wore this in one of those videos.
Yeah, it's a dream. A dream that only we will know about. It's all right. We'll do something.
I think we can. We've got that content. We could always we'll release it one day, inshallah. We're only on episode 3. There's a long way to go.
Yeah,
inshallah.
Long road to 300. Bi'idhnillah. Yeah. Get some grays in. Maybe have my boys with me at one point, and then eventually.
Yeah, I want to be doing this with a grey beard, man.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
Hopefully, I'll have a hair transplant by then, so I'll still have hair, but just grey.
Embrace it. If you don't have hair, embrace it. Come on. No?
I want that transplant, man.
Okay.
Next time you see a little snap from Turkey, just know why I went. You know what I mean?
Guys, we'll do a GoFundMe for Faisal and his. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I heard that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching Dad's Dunya, episode 3, which featured a slight Liverpudlian accent at one point.
That should be the Instagram clip, I think. Just that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to work.
Oh, okay,
I might get,
fair enough. It was a good suggestion.
yeah. Thank you guys so much. I've been Faisal Chowdhury.
I was Faisal Chowdhury's co-host.
No, you were Aki Tweet.
I know, but I just want to be different.
Do you want to call yourself Aki Tweet or Mohammed? Aki Tweet, innit? You have to
Yeah.
now ride that wave. Like, you started it and you're too
I rode
deep
that
in.
wave for a long time. I know I'm drowned in that wave.
Yeah.
I don't even use
You're always
Twitter
gonna be
too
known as
much,
Aki Tweet.
but
I've been Faisal. That's Fazl with a Razr. And that's been Akhi Tweet. And we will see you again one day, inshallah, over the next 10 days. Inshallah.
that's pretty much it.
So by the way, someone just, I just want to highlight this. I'm here for you, bro. Hair transplant, hit me up when you come to Turkey. So thank you. I've had a few people say that to me. I had one guy who was like, I've got someone I'm going to look after, like, I've got someone like solid. And I'll tell you the story off air. Just didn't go through, it didn't work out in the end.
Okay, we'll do
All
that.
right, bro.
New transplant show coming soon on Freshly Grounded.
Yeah. All right, guys. See you soon. Jazakallah khair and assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.